Hi y'all, it's Aaron. I'm back with another lesson today. This time we'll be looking at Dear Rosemary, which is the third song on Foo Fighters' 2011 album, Wasting Light. So I saw recently that this album just celebrated its 9th anniversary, so I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring on this one and try and tackle it. I didn't see too many videos on YouTube for this specific song, and it's always been a favorite of mine. It features Hüsker Dü legend Bob Mould on I think maybe vocals and guitar. Actually, I think he might have added a guitar track to the song as well. Really fun rock song, really great song on really a standout album from the Foo Fighters. Certainly one of my favorite Foo Fighters album, and the album that got me into the band. I'll talk about that later, but let's get right into the song here. We're in standard tuning. I'm going to teach you some of the lead lines, and also there's some cool rhythm parts actually as well, and some different chord voicings that maybe if you're if you've played other Foo Fighters songs, you don't typically see things necessarily like this, and some cool little sort of accented rhythm parts that are kind of almost playing off the beat, which is kind of cool. So we'll jump in and dissect all of that. So again, we're in standard tuning here. I'm going to teach this little intro bit. You can hear at the very beginning of the track, it's a clean guitar tone, and it sounds like this. So basically what we're doing here you're going to have these two notes sort of outlining a B minor chord down here at the third fret on the third fret on the second string, and the fourth fret on the third string. But you want to kind of play it with your pinky on the fourth fret of the G string and your middle finger on the third fret of the second string or the B string, and we're going to sort of play a little descending line underneath these two notes. We're going to start here with the fourth fret on the D string. So we're going to go, so we're kind of walking up the chord, fourth fret on the D, fourth fret on the G, third fret on the B, back to the fourth fret on the G. We're going to pull off, and this is where you kind of almost want to, sort of like you're having a B minor regular bar chord. You're going to kind of pull off if you can. It's tricky, it might take a little practice. You're pulling off your middle finger here, but you want to keep your middle finger and your pinky finger, your little finger down here. So just to clarify again, you're pulling off from the fourth fret to the second fret on the D string after you ascend that chord. So you pull off, right? And you want to keep that middle finger and that little finger held down on the third of the B again and the fourth of the G. So now the next, you're going to take your pointer finger off. You're just going to have these two fingers on here. Again, you're just keeping this constant, right? Play the open D string. Same sort of picking pattern. And you're going to hammer on the open D, from the open D to the second fret of the D string. So you go. Again, you're ascending up that chord. Pick it open D. Ascend the chord, come back. One more time, really slow. You're gonna have to probably practice it a little bit. It's a little tough for your fingers kind of to work that way at first. Sometimes it's because you're kind of pulling off this. you need to pull off that ring finger and have the rest of your other 3 fingers still pressing down. It was kind of difficult at me first in terms of muscle memory to not be able to lift my other fingers up when I pulled off. You'll know what I mean if you start practicing it, but just play it slowly. Do not play at full speed until you have it down at a much slower speed. So next, let's go through that lead section. So Taylor comes in with the drums after that little intro bit that I showed you. We're kind of launching into the sort of the main lead guitar, main riff of the song, if you want to call it that. And Taylor comes in, and the rest of the band comes in as well. So we're starting here with the slide down. And by the way, I'm assuming Chris Shiflett would play this both on the album and live. So it's 11th fret slide down, the 9th fret, and the G string. We're going to stay on the G string for this entire riff, actually. So 9 down to 7, down to 6, up to 7 now, still on the G string. Right, so back up to 7. Slide back down to 6, down to 4, down to 2, back up to 4. You're going to play the 6th fret on the G string a couple times, 7th fret on the G string a couple times, 9th fret on the G string a couple times. So really slow, the first half of that main riff. So after you play through it once, you repeat it. Exact same thing. We're back here. We're at the 9th fret on the G string at the very end of that phrase, and you're going to come up here. That's the 12th fret on the B string to the 11th fret on the G string. You're going to play that again. 9th fret, G string, whole step bend and release. Then you're going to play the 7th fret on the G string, 9th fret on the G string. So one more time, really slowly through the whole main riff. You can go to an E5 or an E power chord to lead into the verse. You can play it down here. Okay, so that's kind of the main riff. Rewind and rewatch that if you're maybe you missed some of the notes. What I do, especially when I'm coming back up, that part of the phrase, I'm adding just a little bit of vibrato. So I'm playing it. You don't want to go crazy. You don't want to be like, you don't want to be bending it. You just want to. You want to play just a little bit of vibrato there, just I think to give it a little flavor and a little spice. Just something I add into the sort of the main riff there. Okay, now we're into the verse section. This is kind of cool. You're kind of be going back and forth with the drums here. So the main sort of progression: B minor to an A major, to a G major, to an A major, but also almost like you're almost playing an E major as well. So it's like it's almost like a passing chord in there. There's like an A major, which I'll show you in 1 second. Another way to play the riff that I don't know if I fully hear on the album, but it's sort of implied within the melody. So you're playing what's sort of known as like what's known as a triad. So it's basically 3 notes that are part of a chord. So So it's a B minor triad. 9th fret, A string and D string. And then the 7th fret on the G. That's the B minor shape. The A major shape is the 7th fret on the A and the D string and the 6th fret on the G string. Move that shape down 2 frets, same exact shape. We're at a G triad. And we're going to come back up. I just play an E5 or an E power chord there. Open string, low 6th string, 7th fret A, 9th fret on the D and the G. So really slowly we're going. And there's little tiny variations there of you hear that? So rewind, rewatch that to get the exact rhythm down. You want to kind of be. And now here, let me just show you this little sort of thing I like to add in here. You're kind of walking back up from the A major to the B minor. So you're going. See how I did that? You don't have to add that. That's a little more advanced, and it's honestly kind of tricky to, in terms of both rhythmically and just also playing that. You got to really fit it in there quick. It's a difficult sort of in terms of it's not straight chords, right? You're playing a really you're playing abbreviated chords to begin with, but that part goes so fast, and it's really just a passing note or a passing chord. So, don't stress out about that, but I personally like to add it, and I think it's nice, and it's implied within the melody. So, after that sort of verse section, we're going to go into sort of like a pre-chorus type build-up section. We're going to play a B minor bar chord up here. You can play all the notes if you want, but I just kind of am playing the lowest 4 notes of the chord. 7th fret, low E, 9th fret, D, or 9th fret A and D string, sorry. And then lastly, that you're playing that 7th fret on the G string, down to the A major, 5th fret, low E, 7th fret of the A and D, and the 6th fret on the G string. So, can I go on and on and on and on? You can keep going back and forth between those 2 chords like this. And then last time he goes again. And you're going to slide down after that from probably like about the 12th fret in the low E string. You're going to go Rosemary. We're right in the chorus here. Rosemary, you're part of me. So it's a G major to an A major. You can play it as open chords down here, like your beginner guitar chords. G major to A major. B minor, A major again. Or you can play it as bar chords. You can go G major, A major, B minor, A major. And the last section of the chorus here, we go from G major to E major. And then we're back into the main riff, which is B minor, A major to G major, to a quick A major, back to the B minor. And then you're back into the... So now, the second time you're playing that riff after that first chorus section, it's a little bit different, the ending. So instead of going into the right? That part stays the same, but instead of the... like we played when we at the beginning of the song, now we're just going to go... we're just going to bend up that note at the 9th fret on the G string here. And we're just going to play the E again to lead back into the second verse. Okay, so now we're into the sort of lead guitar break in the second verse, if you'd like to kind of think of it that way. So we're going like this. We're going. It's that riff. So it's you got away with it. It's that sort of section. It's during that part, right? So it's a really cool riff. Definitely adds a lot to the song. So we're going second fret on the A string there. It's actually we're starting at the root, the B minor chord. We're going to the open D string, 4th fret D string, 2nd fret D string, 4th fret A string. So here's that first little part. Really slow. Okay, and now we're going from this the open A string to the 3rd fret and the low E. So here's what we got so far. Now next we're playing sort of like outlining a G chord here. So we play the the 5th fret on the A string and the 5th fret on the D string. So you're going to play the 5th fret on the A, 5th fret on the D, 2nd fret on the D string, 4th fret on the A string. So let me play up to that point. Really slow. And we're going to end that little riff with 5th fret on the low E, 7th fret on the low E, and slide down. Okay, so really slow. Okay, so that's that sort of lead break that you hear in the second verse. And I think the second time it plays that riff, it kind of just goes. It kind of cuts off early and goes right back into that E5, or if you want to just play the low E string and the 2nd fret on the A string, you can do that. Okay. So now, really, the only part I have left to show you is the bridge. And this is this was no ordinary lie. And then Bob Mould comes in with his harmonizing vocal, which is just awesome. So we're going from a G major to an A major to a B minor to an A major. G major, A major, B minor, A major, G major, A major, B minor, A major. Last time, the end of the bridge. G major to an E. You can play it as an E major, but I'm going to mute the 1st fret on the G string here. Just play it as like an E power chord. If you want, you can play an E power chord up here. But I like this Foo Fighters way of playing the E power chord, which is open low E string, 2nd fret of the A and the D string. Again, we're muting the 1st fret of the G string here, which you usually would play as an E major chord, and then the top 2 strings ring and open. Really nice rock sounding E power chord. It sounds like, an AC/DC type move or something. And that is really the entire song. We eventually go back into a final chorus, and then we go into a sort of a little bit of breakdown section, but it's no parts that you haven't seen before. We play that. It's sort of it builds back up to this last great riff, and there's like a harmonizing part in there, but it's nothing really I haven't shown you. It's kind of buried within the mix. I would just play that I showed you earlier, and I think you'll more than get by during that part. Okay, so that's the song. Please, I encourage you to pause and rewind any parts that maybe you're not sure about. but I played through everything for you, so I hope that helps. Thanks for this request. I believe I had a request probably over a year ago for this one. It was a while ago. Sorry, I'm just getting to it. But I wanted to quickly tell my story of how I got into Foo Fighters, and this album, Wasting Light, was instrumental in me picking up a guitar. So I was at the movie theater in May of 2011, and I was with my uncle seeing the movie Thor, the Marvel movie, right? And during the credits, you know, a Marvel movie, you have to stay after the credits to see the preview, or, you know, maybe there's a funny part or something that, sort of blooper scene, or, you know, whatever, or again, the preview for the next movie. You know, you have to stay till after the credits. It's a Marvel movie, right? So I'm sitting there with my uncle. We're watching it. The movie ends. The credits start rolling up the screen, right? And Foo Fighters' Walk starts playing. I didn't know it was Foo Fighters at the time, but it was the song Walk off of their Wasting Light album, which had just come out. At that point, it had just come out a month prior. So I was just blown away. I'd never heard the song before. I don't even know if I've really... I think I'd heard of Foo Fighters, but I didn't really know much beyond that. And I was just floored. It's very rare, actually, for me to like a song on the first listen. It's usually like the second, third, fourth listen when I start really noticing a song. I'm like, oh my God, that was great. I want to hear it again, type thing. That rarely happens to me. That's really rare. And that's exactly what I felt when I was listening to Walk for the first time. It was like, wow, I need to hear that again. So I went home, I looked it up, and it was Foo Fighters' Walk. And I think within a couple weeks of seeing Thor, I went out and bought the CD of Wasting Light, and I played that thing over and over that summer. I was in ninth grade. I was turning 15 years old that year. So just kind of came at an interesting point in my life, and really within less than a year after all of this, I started playing guitar, and I think Foo Fighters were instrumental in that. I love this album. I love Dear Rosemary. I'm a huge fan of, I think Rope and Walk are probably my favorite songs in the album. I know they're the singles, but I think they're the singles for a reason. Like, I think clearly they were big rock songs, and I think they had just great songwriting, and they're really catchy and really cool. Rope reminds me of Rush. I'm a huge Rush fan. Rope reminds me of Rush and Led Zeppelin and things like that, so that's super cool. And again, Walk's just a great catchy rock song. It's fantastic. Really uplifting lyrics and just powerful. Dave's vocals on it are awesome. Kick ass. So there's so many great songs on the Wasting Light album, though. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't heard it. I think it's really the best Foo Fighters album since the 90s, in my opinion. I'm a hardcore Foos fan, so Dear Rosemary is a great song. Bridge Burning's fantastic. These Days is a great anthem type song. I Should Have Known's really underrated. Arlandria as well. There are just so many good songs on it, and I was able to see the Foo Fighters on that tour in 2011, the Wasting Light tour, and it was just a fantastic show. They played over 2.5 hours, and I think Rise Against opened for them, and I'd never heard of Rise Against before that concert. I was really new to a lot of the alternative stuff, and I was just blown away by the whole show. And Dave Grohl was, running up and down the stage, and they had the elevated stage where he played a few acoustic songs. He did a little acoustic set by himself after the first part of the encore. It was just amazing. So I encourage you to check out the Wasting Light album if you haven't heard it. It's a fantastic, very straightforward, no nonsense, no filler rock and roll album. The great Butch Vig was the producer. Some great guest performances on there. Chris Novoselic, right? Bob Mould on Dear Rosemary. it's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about Wasting Light. And again, that picking up that CD and listening to hearing the song Walk and Thor was kind of what started my guitar playing journey. And I guess it's been, wow, about 8 years now at the time of filming this video since I started playing. Actually more than 8 years. So it's been fun, and it's been such a rewarding experience, and it's added so much to my life. And I think Foo Fighters was really the kick in the rear I needed to start playing guitar. I loved their music so much, and I loved these guitar riffs, and I sort of, oh my God, if I could play that one day, especially with songs like Dear Rosemary, for example. I thought that way. So anyways, I digress. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there, and I'm sure we'll see you in another video very soon. So take care of yourselves, take care of your families and your friends, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.